Mindset lesson of the day from Winning Mindset. I'm Gene Zannetti, your coast-to-coast mindset coach. Today we're talking about how do you take a dog that doesn't bite and turn him into a dog that bites. And we're talking about specifically, obviously, in the athletic context. Okay? How many coaches have I spoken to? How many parents have said to me over the years, my kid's too nice out there. They're too friendly with their opponents. And again, we're not saying we want them to do anything dirty. We want them to play fair, square, and by the rules. But a lot of times kids are just too nice out there. They don't know how to flip the switch. They don't know how to go into beast mode. Okay, I actually just got off the phone with a volleyball coach and a cross-country coach that they were saying the same exact things that I've been hearing from coaches for the past 11 years and parents. My kid's too nice. They're too friendly. They don't have that competitiveness, that aggressiveness. They don't flip the switch. Or maybe they do it in practice, but then when a competition comes, when they really need to do it, it's not there. So what do? So this was something that it took a lot of time with me too when I was explaining this to different athletes. I know myself too, growing up over the years in my wrestling career, I was always a little too nice with my opponents, very careful not to hurt the other guy, and always hug them after the match and all this kind of stuff. And it's good to show your opponents respect, okay? But it's a different thing if you're not able to separate competition from how you're normally living. There's going to be a problem, okay? In other words, what I mean is you could be a good sport, you could play fair, square, and by the rules, but at the same time, when you're competing against them, to absolutely dominate them, to crush them, to be out for blood, to stick them in the ground, to step on their throat, and I mean all that metaphorically. In other words, you don't feel sorry while you're beating up your opponent, or when you're in those tough moments and you just stomp them out. Okay, that's an important thing. We got to be able to do it, and it's being able to flip that switch. Some athletes are able to do it naturally, and some athletes don't do it naturally. So how do you take that kid and turn them into someone who becomes a dog that bites, right? Someone who has the killer instinct. So we needed to work on this. Originally, I grouped this under mental toughness, and then we made an entirely new series on aggressiveness. How do you make an athlete more aggressive? And what we talk about developing is a competitive alter ego. Okay, so we studied some of the best athletes in history, and if you look at UFC fighters, they follow this too. Okay, so they all have a nickname, right? Chuck the Iceman Liddell, right? John Bones Jones, the notorious Conor McGregor, and on and on and on, right? Khabib the Eagle. They all have a nickname, and what it really is their competitive alter ego. So when they step into the octagon, however they normally feel as a person, they're able to turn that off, and they're able to turn on their alter ego, so they could compete with that killer instinct. This was similar to football. Think of Ocho Cinco, or Primetime. Deion Sanders became Primetime, right? Or the Boz. Those are all alter egos they developed to deal with any kind of fear of losing, looking bad in front of other people. All those natural, normal human responses that we have, we don't want to look bad. We don't want to lose. We don't want to make mistakes. So what do we do to shield ourselves of that? We develop a competitive alter ego. So we're not afraid of making the mistake. If it's a mistake, it's not me, it's my alter ego. It's a way we mentally separate ourselves, and we're able to step into a different context effectively. Okay? So, because we got to be able to compete. We got to be able to compete tough. I remember Ben Askren talked about this. He said he did a study of athletes, and the highest level athletes, they have an ability that when they're in those tough moments, they don't feel sorry for their opponents. So we got to be able to flip that on. And then you also see this in other areas. You see this in the performing arts. A lot of the top entertainers, singers, actors, that's not their real name. Okay, they've changed their name. Now, I don't recommend this, of course, but the point is that they've done things, either they have a nickname for themselves or they changed their name entirely. So now when they step on stage, they feel like a different person, and they're able to overcome any nerves or fear of judgment, and they could kick it up a notch. They could kick it into high gear. That killer instinct on the stage, if you want to call it that, where now you're competing, you're performing at the Super Bowl, and there's millions of viewers. How do you deal with that? Well, someone like Eminem, his real name being Marshall Mathers, his alter ego is Slim Shady, right? And you look at Beyonce. Beyonce's talked about this before. Her alter ego is Sasha Fierce. So when they step on stage, if they're normally shy or quiet and maybe sensitive to criticisms of other people, they step on the stage, and now they're in a different mode, a different mindset. Now, just remember, this is an important thing. I use a lot of metaphorical language here. the competitive alter ego is never to get you to do immoral things, okay? Immoral things are always wrong. It doesn't matter if you're doing it or your alter ego is doing it, it's always morally wrong. So we're separating this from morals, okay? We're talking about, or this obviously includes all that. So this is talking about making sure that we could be more aggressive and not feel sorry for our opponents. Not doing something cheap, dirty, or something that's against faith and morals. Okay, so I don't want to hear it about that. That's definitely not at all what we're talking about. Fair, square, and by the rules. So you need to come up with a competitive alter ego. And I've seen many over the years. I've seen athletes come up with an alter ego of Bulldog, Charlie Sledgehammer, Alpha, Wolverine. They pick their own alter egos. In fact, we had some athletes. They came out, a group beat the streets, female wrestlers, and they picked the name of an alter ego, and then they wrote it in a marker on their leg, like that was their alter ego, and they drew a picture of it. Right? I'm not saying you have to do that, but they have that. They have what their alter ego is when they step out there to compete. Another great example of this, one of the wrestlers we were working with, they were going up against one of the top wrestlers in the country, and they didn't believe in themselves. They had no confidence. So we went through all of our confidence worksheets, and still the guy had no confidence against this one opponent. So we told him, you know what? We changed gears with him, and instead of working on confidence, we worked on aggressiveness, the alter ego. We said, you know what? Maybe you can't beat that opponent, but your alter ego can. And then you see the eyes light up, and there's a glimmer of hope, and that's all you need is hope. Just the possibility of knowing you are capable of beating the person. And sometimes that alter ego sparks that childlike imagination. We have great childhood imaginations as kids, right? And then we get older and somehow we lose that a little bit. I remember when we were younger, we'd play basketball with friends. We'd jump up in the air, we'd say Jordan, or we'd take a shot, we'd say Kobe, right? And I found a lot of times, or we'd say, Ronaldo passes it to Nielsen. We were talking about soccer, and then we try some moves and with the ball and everything. And we actually, even not being basketball players or not being soccer players, by saying that in our head, where we were thinking about being someone else, that creativity, our skills were a little bit better. Now, it didn't make us all of a sudden into a great athlete. That takes years of training. But we did a little bit better than we would have done on our own if we weren't, if you want to call it playing make-believe, stepping into the alter ego, using our creativity. So you want to use your creativity and your imagination to help you, not to hurt you. Most of the time, we take this God-given gift of our creativity and our imagination, and we use it in the wrong way. We actually use that creativity to think about how we might fail. How many times did you ever go miniature golfing? Or maybe you're a golfer. How many times did you imagine how many different ways you could miss the putt? Or maybe I hit the ball into the water. Maybe I hit the ball into the woods. Whatever it is, right? We use our imagination the wrong way instead of using our imagination to help us, not harm us. So that's what this is all about, developing a competitive alter ego. So what you need to do, you have to come up with a name. You want to have that image or that picture, either draw a picture or print out a copy. Maybe it's Superman. Pictures of Superman all over the place. I knew a great business owner. For him, his alter ego was a lion. He had stuffed animals of lions. He had pictures of lions. He had statues of lions in his house, and this is a grown man, okay? So you got to put that around you so you're seeing it regularly. Then also, you pick the name of your alter ego, you have a birthday. So if today's the day you pick your alter ego, remember this date. This is the birthday of your alter ego, and every year you think about that. So this way it becomes more and more real in your mind. And one of the things I do also, not only do you pick an alter ego, but pick the name of your inner wimp. So in other words, that negative voice that's in your head, that's soft, that's weak, come up with a name for that. Because once you put a label on the name, once you put a name or a label on that negative voice in your head, now you get authority over the voice. Okay, so if you notice, the reason when you name something, it's showing you have authority over that, right? You name your dog, you name your cat. Your neighbor doesn't name your dog or your cat. You name your dog or your cat because you have authority over your dog or cat. Same thing with your children. The parents pick the name for the child because they have authority over their children. The same thing with that negative voice in your head. You want to put a name on that voice because you have authority over those negative thoughts and those negative emotions. They don't control you. You control them. So you give those negative thoughts a name. And now you know this is my competitive alter ego and this is the name of my inner wuss. And then you have authority over that. Okay, so building up that competitive alter ego, you also want to list all the different qualities and characteristics that alter ego has. You want to make sure you come up with a switch, something you do that helps you to step into that alter ego, whether it be jumping up in the air, a hand clap, patting yourself in the face, whatever it might be, you're stepping into that alter ego. And we have a whole bunch of series. It's a great thing. It's one of the most exciting things we do. It's actually 3 full worksheets dedicated to building your competitive alter ego. It's in our aggressiveness series. So make sure you do our mindset program as a team and as an individual. And if you wanted to do this yourself, we have a great do-it-yourself aggressiveness program. Make sure you go to our website, zwinningmindset.com, and sign up, buy the bundle, the aggressiveness bundle, where you could develop that competitive alter ego on your own. Of course, the one-on-one training and the team training is the best, but if you have to, just go with the do-it-yourself bundle and make sure you have it. No athlete should be without a competitive alter ego. That's how you build it. That's how you build aggressiveness. That's how you develop the killer instinct. And that's how you turn a dog that doesn't bite into a dog that bites. Take care. We'll see you.